Hey guys, today we're going to talk about vitamin D, and I'm sitting here up in Stanislaus National Forest, and while I am here, the sun is setting, so we've got a little bit of the dimming of light, and so I wanted to make sure to share a conversation with you all about sunlight and vitamin D. So the sun is really good medicine. And I want to make sure that we get this message across to everyone and that it's really clear. I'm Dr. Tim with Optimize Wana Center, and I've put together some thoughts and some notes here to share with you about sunlight and UVA and UVB and UVC and vitamin D. So I'm going to make an attempt to go through some of that here today while we've got the sunset coming. It's just immediately over the tops of the trees here. All right, so this sunlight is really good medicine. It is super helpful for people, and skin cancer is associated with high UV exposure. So this creates a little bit of a conundrum, and people are often concerned about this. However, the latest data shows that low UV exposure and low vitamin D levels subsequently are associated with increased mortality rates due to skin cancer. So, this poses a little bit of a challenge for many individuals. And so it's bad to get too much sun. This is clear, but it is also bad to get too little sun. And so don't go everywhere with a big hat and wearing sunblock and long sleeves. But also, and this would relate to what's called as a suffering from nature deficiency. In this suffering of nature's deficiency disorder would be really deleterious and bad for individuals. And so, by contrast, chronic non-burning sun exposure, which is roughly around 15 minutes of sun exposure a day directly onto the skin, onto 15, 20, 30% of your skin's surface area. So for most individuals, that would include their face, their arms, and maybe their legs, so i.e. short sleeve shirts and shorts down below. This should be adequate for most people as a maintenance dose. Now, yet, most days of the week, if you're doing this, this will help with creating higher levels of melatonin, which will relate to our ability to be able to sleep better, reduce diabetes, hindering the influences of multiple sclerosis, as well as it will help to lower the risk for various kinds of cancer, notably breast cancer and colon cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, as well as prostate cancer. It also helps us to avoid cardiovascular disease and Alzheimer's and dementia. That's kind of a long list, and there's actually even many more, but this is a helpful place to start. Now, vitamin D supplementation is not a substitute for proper sunlight exposure. So as you can see now, the sun has just gone down off of my face and we have it behind me. So hopefully we'll still have the appropriate amount of sunlight here as the sun is going down. Okay, so you need to have both sun exposure and vitamin D supplementation, both, not either or neither nor would be even worse. So many people are sun avoiders, and I'm going to take this off now that I don't have to worry about my head getting burned from lots of sun today. So many people are sun avoiders, and they're obsessed with putting on sunblock, long before they exit their home. They avoid the sun altogether. And I think their intention is to avoid skin cancer and or wrinkles. And while this is a good intentions, in fact, they may be lacking adequate amounts of vitamin D in their body, which is really important and necessary for so many functions in their body. So the evidence shows that this is a misguided approach to be lathering up and wearing long sleeves all the time and big hats and or avoiding the sun altogether. Avoiding the sun even increases mortality, according to a 20-plus year follow-up study published in the Journal of Internal Medicine, and it was looking at individuals between 2014 and 2016. And these sun avoiders tended to die on average 1 to 2 years earlier than those that had active sun use. And actually, this is around a 2x, but this was not looking at low vitamin D as being a challenge associated with and linked to many other health parameters, including things like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and a variety of other preventable diseases. Preventable death makes up about 75% of the deaths in the United States on an annualized basis. So it would be important to do whatever we can to try and improve our ability to be able to thwart and avoid those kinds of things that are within our hands to be able to deal with. So this really results in the effects of low sun use is on par with smoking, according to some longitudinal studies. And so, of course, I am not referencing using high exposures to sun for prolonged periods of time and getting burned and sun damage. That is not what I am talking about here. But consistent utilization of sunlight is really helpful, therapeutic, salubrious, and appropriate. So these small dosages spread out would be really helpful and could be beneficial to many individuals. So the best utilization would potentially include getting some sunlight at early in the morning, right around sunrise, and later in the day, right around sunset. And this would be really helpful for individuals to be able to get adequate amounts of sunlight that would convert appropriately to vitamin D. Now, the reality is, though, that the highest amounts of vitamin D is when the sun is overhead. And so one could potentially consider getting some afternoon sun as a mechanism of really improving their vitamin D status. But if you want to really improve your circadian rhythm, this is the rhythm that is associated with our diurnal cycle, meaning when we wake and when we sleep, then it would be appropriate to get some early sun in the morning, because this would help to stimulate and sustain our cortisol levels in the early part of the day, providing energy to us. And then if we were to get some additional sun, like right now, this would be an appropriate time where it would signal to the body to start switching and really starting to release more melatonin, which will allow for the body to start to wane into the evening and preparing for restful sleep as the day progresses. So this would be potentially an appropriate cycle and mechanism that we could use to be able to get adequate amounts of sunlight. So that would be my best suggestion. One other pro tip for getting vitamin D levels is that we want vitamin D to be somewhere between 50 to 70 nanomoles. And this would be an appropriate functional zone for almost every individual. Although often labs, the lower end of the scale is around 30, but please bear in mind, if you get to 29, then we start to be concerned about osteomalacia and osteopenia and rickets for children. And so there are some known pathologic conditions that are associated with that. So when you're at 35 and even 40, you are edging in that direction, and it is not going to be helpful for your longevity and your health overall. Now, for other individuals, if they have a chronic condition, an autoimmune condition, or they are battling some other kinds of health concerns, generally speaking, we want to have them even a little bit higher, and in this instance, pushing towards 75 to 90 nanograms milliliter of vitamin D status. And this is categorically not as what is found in the United States, where around 75% of Americans have insufficient amounts of vitamin D. So we would want to make sure to try and prop that up. So as we've talked about now, the sun is an amazingly good source of getting vitamin D. But for some individuals, that is particularly difficult, especially in the winter months, to be able to access sun, either because of their lifestyle or where they're located and so forth. And so in that instance, supplementation may be necessary. And for supplementation purposes, often somewhere in the range to 5 to 8,000 IUs would be an appropriate maintenance dose. But if we are trying to achieve a therapeutic outcome of increasing someone's vitamin D status, then we can't use a maintenance dose to get a therapeutic outcome and to improve or impress or increase their vitamin D status. And in which case, it would be important and necessary for us to, in fact, be using a therapeutic dose which would be considerably higher to move the meter towards the direction of where we want to be, whether that's between 50 and 70 for many individuals, or between 75 and 90 for anyone who has some kind of chronic or autoimmune or other kinds of conditions, as we spoke about earlier. So guys, I hope this was helpful to have a few minutes to speak about vitamin D status. We do have some other information about sunlight and vitamin D that goes into much greater depth, for which you can find on our channel. So if you like this, please press the like button. Please share this with your friends. Subscribe to the channel, because there is going to be this information amongst other information that may be beneficial for you as well, and or family members or friends or loved ones. So I request that you do that. And also, don't forget, if you find that there are questions that you have, not only on this topic, but maybe a different topic, please share those in the comments below, and we can make sure to address those going forward. Guys, it was great to be able to have an opportunity to chat with you today, and I'll look forward to catching with you soon on another healthy tips topic coming down your way. Take care.